I know for a fact that fans of the channel are definitely going to call me out and say I'm a hypocrite for saying that I'm now against Nintendo Switch 2 editions when I literally made a video a couple months back saying I wanted more and I had a wish list for games that deserved a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. But with the recent announcement of the Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 edition, I feel like my opinion has changed on the matter, and I feel like that's okay. I feel like that's okay to, you know, feel a certain way about something, and then later on, as more additions or more variations of said thing that you are a fan of come out and you have different views on the thing, I think it's important to address that instead of just, you know, hard locking your opinion and saying, oh, I feel this way and I can feel no other way and I'm not allowed to feel another way. But yeah, hey guys, Cyanize here. Today we're going to be talking about why I no longer like Nintendo Switch 2 editions and why I think they're kind of stupid and they're kind of hurting Nintendo in the long run. Maybe not so much hurting Nintendo. I do know a lot of people do like buying the Nintendo Switch 2 editions, and it is a good way to like pad out the calendar for them. But for me personally, it feels more like a gut punch, especially for certain games that I'm going to be talking about here. And this is mainly in regards to Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Now, don't get me wrong, I do appreciate that Animal Crossing New Horizons is getting an update. And there is a lot of quality of life features, specifically when crafting items. You can craft items in bulk. And I think that is really cool. That is something that we needed for a long time. It was so annoying to be able to only craft one thing at a time. I mean, imagine crafting wooden planks in Minecraft, but you couldn't craft a stack. You could only craft 4 wooden planks at a time. That would have been absolutely miserable. So I'm glad they're retroactively doing that, but that is inherently the problem. Now, I don't know about you guys, but Animal Crossing New Horizons came out a really long time ago. I don't know if you guys have checked the date, but it came out in 2020, and I'm gonna be real, I've been done with the game for years. I reached Town Hall 4 on my island, and I got all the villagers I wanted. I decked it out as best as I could. I did pretty much everything I wanted to do. I don't really have friends to flex all this cool stuff to. I don't really have any achievements to progress towards. All I can really do is customize and make my island look better. And in my opinion, I think that hurts the game. Just kind of a mini review on Animal Crossing New Horizons. There just isn't much to do. Like, imagine getting Mario Maker 2 and all you could do was make levels and you couldn't play them. Like, you could make them, but you couldn't interact with them at all. That's what it feels like with Animal Crossing New Horizons. Obviously to a different scale, of course, but that's definitely the closest comparison I can make. So with this Nintendo Switch 2 edition coming around, giving this game a major update, what does it include? Some quality of life features and more customization features. Yeah. Now, I will give credit where credit's due, and I will rant about this later on in the video. It is $5, and for $5, you do get a pretty decent amount of content, and I do appreciate how this is the only Nintendo Switch 2 edition, in my personal opinion, that is released, that I feel the price is kind of warranted. I seriously don't understand why pretty much every single Nintendo Switch 2 edition has been $20, and especially in regards to like mouse mode and 4K and 60 frames per second support, when I already bought the console that should unlock those features automatically by virtue of me owning the console. And I understand that work was put into these adjustments. Obviously, manpower and dev time was put into these titles so that they could work with the Nintendo Switch 2 specifications, and I do understand that wholeheartedly. But it's just the fact that it's tied to a $20 DLC that, so far in my opinion, has yet to justify that price at all with any of the Nintendo Switch 2 editions that have released. That's really what does it for me. I mean, going down the list here, we have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which don't really add anything outside of 4K support and 60 frames per second, which is really cool, admittedly, but Breath of the Wild specifically is a near decade-old title, and for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, I was already long finished with these games, and these Nintendo Switch 2 editions don't add anything. Oh, but if you have the smartphone app, you can get hidden dumps of lore from some of the Zelda characters, as well as a GPS for all the Korok seeds. I mean, that's cool and all, but is that worth replaying a 100-hour video game for? And I mean, why do I have to download a phone app to do this? I do understand the phone app is free and everyone should have a phone if you have a Nintendo Switch 2, but it feels kind of stupid that I'm paying money for an app on my console and I have to use an entirely different device to make full use of that Switch 2 edition's features. That makes no sense. We then have Mario Party Jamboree, and I actually bought this, unfortunately, and I am so disappointed that I did, because all it does really is give you access to the things that you paid for with your console in the form of the Switch 2 camera, the microphone, and 4K resolution. Oh, it's not even 4K resolution, it's 1440p. And yeah, sure, there are minigames exclusive to some of the features that can only be accessed through the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware, which is pretty cool, but is that $20 good? I mean, hell, why am I paying DLC for a party game of all things? I know a lot of people would probably compare this to Jackbox when they have new party packs with new minigames and whatnot, but in my opinion, I feel like the prices for Jackbox party packs are way more justified because A, they actually go on discount half the time, so it's not even that bad, honestly, and B, they're practically like whole games in and of itself. You get get like 4 or 5 mini games. You get like 4 or 5 infinitely replayable mini games that you can play with your friends at any time. But then when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2, you can't even play half the new modes with the Nintendo Switch 2 edition online. There's like no point. I mean, the only value I can really say I got out of this was that I got to be in an Obby video in regards to talking crap about it. So I guess that was worth it in the end. But with that, we then move on to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and it doesn't add much either. We do get Star Cross World DLC, and I think that is cool, but there's only like, what, 9 levels and a final boss fight at the end and some new music tracks, which is pretty cool. But not $20 cool. Ooh, but you could gamble for some new figurines that add some lore. Dude, you want to talk lore? Let's talk Octo expansion. Dude. Man, but at least you're not like Pokemon Legends EA, where if you pay an extra $10, you get an improved frame rate and resolution that should have been included with the base game upon buying this game. Now look, I do love Legends EA, don't get me wrong. I know that's a very controversial opinion, but this game is really good. It's not $70 good, and I can't believe I have to pay for a $10 upgrade pack to play this game how Nintendo intended for us to play this game. On the hardware that is capable of running this game at 1080p 60 frames per second that I already had to spend $500 for. And while this game hasn't released yet, we do also have Metroid Prime 4, and not much is really going to be added here other than the textures and resolution and load times are going to be upgraded, as well as the frame rate and the works. And you also do get access to mouse mode, which again, I don't know why I have to pay money for that I already spent tons of money on. But outside of Pokemon Legends EA, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Animal Crossing New Horizons, every single Nintendo Switch 2 edition so far has been $20. And why is it priced as $20, you might be asking? I don't know, because none of this is worth $20. But I think it's so annoying that Nintendo is using this as a way of re-releasing some of their older games under the guise of brand new DLC, just to have these games back on store shelves to fill out their calendar year while they're making their Nintendo Switch 2 games. And it's a pretty good strategy, I'm not gonna lie, but I wish the DLC was a lot more substantial to justify the price. A lot of the DLC that you're getting here is just not worth the price and not worth the incentive at all to go back to play some of these games that are years old. And I said it already, but Breath of the Wild is coming up on 10 years old, and we're just now getting 1080p 60 frames per second with no new content unless you count the lore dumps through the phone app. Are you kidding me? I do admit a lot of these new features do make replaying these games a lot better, I will admit. So when it comes to replaying these games, I definitely cannot wait to try these games out again with that mindset in mind. But in terms of going back to revisit them after I'm already done and I moved on with my life, there's just no reason to with all of these Nintendo Switch 2 editions so far. Oh, but I'm definitely going back to Mario Wonder for the Koopalings. I love my boy Iggy. I definitely don't think Nintendo's ever going to release a version of Nintendo Switch 2 editions that just include frame rate increases and resolution bumps. I don't think they're gonna ever do that. I think it's gonna forever be tied to DLC. But if it has to be this way, I just wish the DLC was a lot more substantial to justify us returning to these old games. And I definitely understand that this is just a thing to hold us over while they cook on the actual Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive titles. And I definitely get that, and I respect that as a content creator that sometimes likes to make videos to stall while I work on the bigger videos. But I feel a lot more has got to be done here. I know they're capable of this, especially with Octo expansion literally right there being the gold standard for $20 DLC in terms of Nintendo games. I personally think that's what we need to strive for in terms of Nintendo Switch 2 editions. But what do you guys think about Nintendo Switch 2 editions? Do you think Nintendo needs to change them, or do you think they need to stay the same, or do you think they need to upgrade the price for all I know? Let me know in the comments as always. Always down to have a conversation down there. Stay hydrated, stay cool, and I will see you all in another video. Bye-bye!